8.1.
Okay. Maybe some time. Feed your mind, body, and the rest will follow. You're welcome to Soul Food right here on Smooth 98.1. We love music and we love life. And you're very welcome to a show that caters to every aspect of your life, your health, your physical health, your emotional health, your psychological health, everything, because again there is no health without mental health. But this morning we are diving deep and to discuss the topic of forgiveness. On question of the morning, which preceded the show, we have been talking about forgiving and forgetting, and a number of people had quite the interesting comments. For instance, I think two people said it might be so hard to forget, especially when you have physical scar. Maybe something happened and there was an altercation and there was a scar from that incident. How do you forget when you keep seeing the scar? And yes, some of you said it was possible to forget even after forgiving. And yes, everyone agreed that forgiving is good. But how do you move on after forgetting? I would like that question to be answered. And I'm so glad to have my guest this morning in the studio. If you're a part of the YouTube stream, then it means that you're seeing us live. So you can go to youtube.com/ smooth 91 FM Lagos. Again, youtube.com/ smooth 91 FM Lagos. So that said, my guest is no stranger to the show, and I'm so happy to have her again after a bit. She is a trauma therapist, and I think the last time I remember having her on my show was Soul Sisters, when we had Barrister Olumide talking about, I think, divorce, abuse cases, and the rest. And that is Mrs. Olabisi Usidame. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Shewa, and good morning to everyone out there. Thank you for another opportunity.
Thank you. So I just can't wait to dig into this. So before we even go into everything, I mean, in terms of data, it has been shown that forgiveness is very good. In fact, according to, I think, a study that was done by Luskin in 2003, it says forgiveness helps the person to become emotionally stronger, experience greater confidence, be increasingly optimistic. Yes, we know, we know. But how do you even get to that point? Well, before we get to that, let's define if there is any psychological definition for forgiveness. How do you define forgiveness?
So, forgiveness is forgiveness all around. But from the psychological point of view, it's actually there are just some key words, which is deliberately or intentionally letting go of negative emotions such as resentment, bitterness, hatred, um, being vengeful. That's the ability to just let it go. By um, letting go of the person in your mind,
Hmm.
not necessarily the action. That's where the issue is. Because it's very easy to um, for people to say, you should forgive and forget, but we all know it's easier said than done.
I remember before we came on, we were talking about how hard it can be to
Hmm.
forgive. Why is it that hard to forgive?
So many reasons, absolutely many reasons. For some people, it's very easy for them to forgive, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how deep the action was, or how intense it was. They easily let go, and they express it there and then. They let it go. They let it go. When I mean let it go, they let go of the emotion. It doesn't mean they reconcile with the person. It doesn't mean that they've forgotten the action. But for some people, it's actually difficult, and some of that is stemming from childhood. There's something we call weak attachment and what we call secure attachment. When a child has an attachment to the caregivers around them, their parents, maybe the nanny or teachers, whoever is close to them at that time. Some children have had a secure attachment with their caregivers, which means they find safety, they find security. They've been able to have grown or grow positive emotions, and those emotions have been nurtured. So they are the type that easily forgive when people hurt them. You
Mm.
know, they it's a projection of their self-esteem, their confidence. They're letting it go because they don't want to hurt themselves.
So
But yeah, but for the person who had a weak attachment, who maybe had to fight for attention, or who was neglected, who didn't have anybody coming for them, they experienced a lot of loneliness, a lot of anxiety, and in those places where they should have developed trust that a child that had a secure attachment had, they did not have.
mm,
So they've had to fight to be known, fight to have people pay attention to them, fight to develop trust with people. And so when such people get hurt, it's usually deeper, it's usually messier than with people who have had a secure attachment. However, there are also some circumstances, some events that leave, whether you were securely attached as a child or weakly attached as a child to your caregivers. Some people experience some very intense experiences, such as domestic abuse, being hurt by a partner, being forgotten or by a loved one, or at work, someone took over your project or something, you know, all of those emotions are deep, and sometimes it takes leaving that place physically, to heal, or just coming to um, a point where you have to actually acknowledge the pain you're experiencing and the feelings, and how to take it forward from there.
thank you. I think you already started the steps because I just want to get into how to forgive because there are still other things involved. For instance, there's a part where you have to forgive someone who isn't sorry or someone who does not even care about your forgiveness. But as you mentioned, it's not about the other person, it's about you. But now let's get started with how do you forgive? What are the steps in forgiving?
Okay, so steps are different from for different people, because again, it depends on where you are.
Mm,
But for a person who has been really, really battered, who is extremely in a bitter place, who is very resentful, who is very bitter, who has felt neglected, um, where the person needs to start from is confronting their emotions, confronting their emotions, because sometimes the memories are so deep, the memories are so intense, we don't want to go back in time to even, not to even relieve, but to even just go through that trauma. It's almost like a re-traumatization for some people. So they would rather just shelve the emotions, shelve the person who caused it, put them somewhere and lock them up somewhere. So it's about actually coming to terms with the fact that, look, how do you feel about this thing that happened? How do you feel? What are the emotions you're experiencing? And being able to identify them helps you to know, okay, so these are the emotions I feel. Why do I feel this way? What role did this person play in this? And the most difficult question of all is, what role did you play in this?
mm,
Because you see, forgiveness also involves self forgiveness in the forgiveness. Because sometimes some people are so angry at other people, like, I shouldn't have trusted you. The I comes in. I should have known better. Someone told me I should have listened. I should have gone when I started seeing the red flags. The I. The I shows that you're playing a role there, but you have not maybe consciously acknowledged the role that you played. Acknowledging it doesn't mean that you're taking all the blame. Acknowledging it makes you understand that this other person also had a role to play and you had a role. It could have been how you responded to the situation, how you reacted, actions you should have taken proactively and you did not. When you're able to put that down, you see a bigger picture. First of all, why did I react this way or respond this way? Then you would realize that it could have been due to some factors that you're predisposed to as a person, your personality. Um, Maybe you have issues with maybe people pleasing, or you just try not to give in. Then you understand the bigger picture that the person who did this could there have also been factors that made that's good for a person to do? It's difficult, but when you do that, it helps you release a bit of the emotions, the negative emotions that you're feeling. That why did this person react this way? So it helps you understand that. Even though I'm not saying pray for your enemies now, and I'm not using those words of you have to exude warmth or compassion to this person who has hurt you. But when you put yourself in a place of understanding, it lets go, it eases some of the emotions that you're experiencing.
Mm.
You understand? Forgiveness doesn't have to mean you having a conversation with the person. Forgiveness does not mean you have to continue with the relationship, because sometimes it could have been a toxic relationship. It could have been a toxic incident, which may not, require you. I mean, for someone who has been raped by someone who they trusted, someone who was close to them. It's not about them going there to forgive, but understanding that, look, this was a violation on my body, violation on everything that I trust, family, um, friends, close friends. You broke all of that, and I'm choosing to let go, because I also have people who have been kind to me, who have not violated me. Because unforgiveness is like a very big monster. It sucks all the positive emotions on the inside of you. It affects your self esteem. It leaves you in a place where you see people living around you, living their lives, and it's like life is passing you by. You're still in that place. And worse is if the person who hurt you is living their best life. And you're wondering, okay, so where is karma in all of this?
Mm.
So acknowledging your role, identifying the emotions that you feel, and asking yourself, what is the next step? How has this affected me? When you begin to understand and analyze those, you will understand that this thing is affecting me much more than I realize. Because some people have held on. I've had clients that have, experienced so much trauma, maybe personal with personal relationship, intimate relationships, and it's been a decade, it's been 2 decades, it's been 3 decades, and they've not been able to find themselves in the place of initiating or nurturing the relationships around them, without realizing that it's stemming from not facing that emotion, going through processing and letting go for you.
Mm. That's a lot, a whole lot. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, we are talking about forgiveness on the show called Soul Food. And I hope that the words are actually reaching your soul and it's probably helping you to form a decision that you should take. This is Smooth 98.1, and Soul Food runs every Saturday from 8 till 8:30. Like I mentioned, we are talking about forgiveness. And my guest is a therapist, a trauma therapist, and her name is Olabisi Usidame. Still on that step, acknowledgement and moving on. How, let me go to the issue of closure. Now, closure is a word that maybe has been abused, maybe a word that has been used as an excuse, and maybe it's a word that is not fully understood. Someone in the process of trying to move on say, I want to understand, why did you do that to me? Why did you betray me? Why did you even know that you hurt me in the first instance? How does a person go about it? Is it necessary at all?
Okay, so that's why, like you said, I like the fact that you said what are the steps that lead to that. Because you see, when you acknowledge your role, when you acknowledge that you could have responded differently, it helps you see a bigger picture, especially if you were in an abusive relationship where the person was, throwing darts around, at you, and you just didn't know you didn't know how to fight back. Yeah. And so what would happen is some people, in wanting to go and ask, why did you do that to me, go back into, the mess, they were trying to live in the first place. The truth is, you're forgiving for you. You're not forgiving for the other person. Because you see, you have gotten to a place on your life journey and you're realizing that, you know what? I'm letting this go so I can maximize and live my life to the fullest. Because life in itself is a very interesting journey. You've gotten to the place where this thing has really hurt you so badly, it's affecting your the quality of life you live, your work, how you see yourself. And the person who hurt you is probably still same person who is not aware that they hurt you, or who doesn't care that they hurt you, who cannot be bothered if you've spent the 5 years of your life wallowing in pain. So when you understand that you're doing this for you, you can call the person if you want to, or see the person and say, you know what, I forgive you for all the hurt you've done. I'm letting it go. You don't even wait for their response, because if you've not gotten to the place where you've forgiven yourself and process the emotions, you're waiting for them to say that I'm sorry. And the truth is, it may never come. So the closure we visualize, the closure we're expecting, we may never really get them. In fact, we may end up playing a role in the other person's life when we have forgiven ourselves, forgiven them, and impacting them. But don't expect a happily ever after to every um, life event that broke you or hurt you. The other person may never ever change. And guess what? They might not have even had any reason for hurting you in the first place. It may have just been a pawn in the big picture of what they were trying to play in the manipulative game they were playing. Or, for example, at work, you know how sometimes people are fighting to get up there. So you may not have, they weren't thinking about you. They're just there to get you out of the way. So you need to understand that you're doing this for you and not for the other person.
Thank you, especially the latter part you mentioned, because how do you forgive Nigerian politicians?
Ash, every day when you step out and you see the state of the roads, the price of things, and how, they're enjoying so much and living in luxury, you ask yourself over and over again, you know,
how do you move on? I mean, they don't even care
they
if
don't.
so, but hey,
They
you
don't.
just have to do it for yourself and
Absolutely. For
keep it
you.
moving. We'll
For
take a
you.
short break, and when we come back, we'll go to, well, symptoms of forgiveness. This is what I mean. How do you know you have forgiven someone? And when we come back, when we are done with that, we talk about the other things that are involved in apologies. When you're seeking somebody's forgiveness, when do you know to apologize? How do you even genuinely say sorry? How do you know when a person is sorry? And, a number of things have been said about the words and what you should not say when you apologize. And so we talk about all of that. And of course, your comments can come in as well to WhatsApp 0809 444 0981. Again, 0809 444 0981. You're listening to Soul Food right here on Smooth 90.1. Love life. World class music. Man, it's already 20 minutes past 8.
Already.
Already.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Oh my days. Time is just, I don't know, it flies when you have something.
Please, may I take your order, sir? Oh, okay. What would you like to have? I'll have a cappuccino.
Breakfast is on the menu. Wake up and smell the coffee for the perfect start to your
Oh,
day.
I'm just seeing your
It's
message.
people
Sorry.
and lifestyle.
I most times don't
and
handle my phone.
information.
Can go wrong. That's why I tell people don't play with your
Indulge
body.
yourself in some soul food. Get your vitals active in health and fitness. And discover music from around the world in Smooth
We
Explorer.
believe that music comes from the planet of the earth.
It's breakfast just for you. Breakfast in bed every Saturday from 7 a.m.
And that's exactly what you're listening to right now on Smooth 98.1. Breakfast in Bed airs every 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. on Saturdays. But we've got the segment called Soul Food on Saturdays from 8 till 8:30. And just as the name implies, we talk about everything that relates to your soul, your wellness. and everything. This morning, we are deep diving into the topic of forgiveness, and your thoughts are welcome. So you can send your messages if you have any questions or comment, contribution as well to WhatsApp 0809 444 0981. Again, 0809 444 0981. While the calls can come to 01448 9981. Again, 01448 9981. My guest is a trauma therapist, and her name is Olabisi Usidame. I am Oluwaseun. We've been talking about what forgiveness is, the steps, how, and what you are doing. You're doing it for yourself, for your wellness and balance. But now, how do you seek for forgiveness? Or better, before we even seek for forgiveness, how do you know when you're forgiving someone?
Okay, so you know how you have emotional triggers when you face a circumstance or something that um, you had faced before and you experience a lot of intense emotions, mostly negative, yeah? Um, how you know is when you face something similar or you find yourself with someone that could have triggered those parts of you that, you had a lot of rough journey with, and no negative emotions is emitting from you. You're not you're not running away, you're not fighting back. You're just feeling peaceful. If anything, you feel empathy towards this new person or new situation. That's a sign that you have actually forgiven that person. When you see the person and you feel just a little bit of, maybe a pain in your heart, and it just comes and it goes, and you see the person and you just say hello, and your hello is not come, let's talk, but you know what, just stay on your own, but hello anyway. That's a sign that you have forgiven. When you look towards putting boundaries in place, if it's in a relationship like marriage or a family relationship where the person is kind of not going anywhere, if the person is still within the family circle, but you've learned, you've understood the person, you're seeing a bigger picture. Maybe you're not feeling all tingly and warm on the inside or feeling compassion towards the person, but you understand the big picture now, but you've placed boundaries in place to ensure there's no repetition of what happened in the past. So you're protecting your sanity, you're protecting your peace. That shows you have forgiven the person.
Okay, now let's touch the other part, forgetting. I think before we came on, you were saying that sometimes forgetting does not mean you, or forgiving does not mean you entirely forget the whole event. And linking it to what you just said, that when you see the person and you don't feel any sort of maybe resentment, anger, or jab that came before, but for when, what is your take on forgetting before I even ask the further ones? Do you really forget the events? Is it possible to wipe it out, or wiping out is even something that shows you have not forgiven?
Some people who have not forgiven, the event is so fresh, they relive it every single day. They remember the smell, they remember what they were wearing, they remember what the other person was wearing, they remember everything about the day. They haven't forgiven. But forgiveness is when you can recall that this person hurt you this way, that way, without all of the details. You being able to say, that guy broke my heart. Oh, in school back then, we were dating for like 5 years, and then he broke my heart. Well, thank God. Anyway, I've moved on. That sounds like someone who has let go, who remembers but is not holding it. But a person who has not forgiven looks at the person and you can see them tightening their fist or about to throw a fist at the person, like, what are you doing here? I hope you've not come here to date any of my sisters or something. You know what I mean? It's not there anymore. So when you are still reliving and can see everything in there, you can still visualize, you can still freeze when the thought comes to your mind you haven't forgiven. But forgiveness is it just being a recall of an event that happened a long time ago without attaching any emotions to it. Or better still, not attaching negative emotions to it, but you just say it and it goes. Oh, I was raped as a child. My dad raped me. Just like Joyce Meyer. If you know Joyce Meyer, she has that story and like, oh, I was raped, I was assaulted as a child, and all that. She says it almost like she doesn't care, but it's because she has let go of the resentment and the pain that has been attached to that memory.
Thank you. Now let's cross over to the other side, seeking forgiveness. How do you, when you realize that I hurt this person, so it's a different ball game now. You are the one who knows I need to seek this person's forgiveness.
Yeah.
I hurt this person. How do you go about it? And putting into consideration the timing, the how, the mannerisms. How do you do it?
Good. So, first of all, have the big picture in your head, understanding that this is the role you played in this person's life. And the manner is you don't go and just expect the person to immediately tell you, I forgive you too, or I accept your forgiveness. So you have to understand that the fact that you're saying, I am sorry, I should not have done this, you should not expect from that person. So you don't judge the person for not forgiving you anyway. Number two is you do not go to such a person and start saying the story of what happened and the role the person played in it. That is for your own consumption of the role you played, the role the person played. What you should go to apologize for is what you did in that situation. I am sorry for messing up with your, job opportunity, your promotion opportunity. I am sorry for cheating on you. I am sorry for breaking up your relationship with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. I am sorry. It was very selfish of me to have done that, irrespective of what I perceived that you did to me or I thought. I am truly sorry. No judging, no excuses, no expectation of the person saying, oh, and they hug you and kiss you. No. And asking, look, is there anything I can do to make this better? And if the person says no, you've played your part. But if the person is seeking for something that is within your circle of control, that had to do with that incident, then you need to do that just to ease the pain the person is experiencing.
Now, what if a person decides to get back at you for what you did, that you acknowledged, that you sought forgiveness for, but the person just wouldn't let go until they've had their pound of flesh?
Unfortunately, this happens a lot in life. You have people who are naturally vindictive, who have not learned to let go of pain. Like I said, those who find it difficult to forgive. That's up to the person. You understand? You've played your role. You've spoken to them. You've asked if there's anything you can do. You just have to move on. It is at the end of the day the person. Forgiveness is you realizing and acknowledging that someone has hurt you, and you're letting the person go, and finding out later that the person you let go was actually you. It was not the other person. So if the person still decides to be vindictive, decides to be vengeful, that person is one who hasn't forgiven. That has nothing to do with you, and that's what we must understand. So we must understand that if we have played a role in hurting or breaking someone, and we have come to the place, a full circle, where we say, you know what, I have hurt this person, I'm going to ask for forgiveness. Go ahead and ask. Go ahead and let go of the feelings you are having, which is of guilt, of of shame. You have let it go, but it is not your responsibility for the other person to let go of the pain they are feeling and the other emotions and the resentment they have towards you. So that's the consequence of the action you took. That's the law of cause and effect.
So you should come to terms with consequences.
Yes, we should come to terms.
Um,
That's an act of responsibility, ability to respond to that situation and just take it on.
Thank you. On WhatsApp, Michael says, I agree with only a few of our pointers. In my case, I don't crave attention. In fact, I don't even like it. Whatever I set out to do, I put my all in it. That way, I end up getting bruised easily. Rewind. I'm in my late 30s. Growing up, my caregivers never traded apology for forgiveness. When you say you're sorry, they say sorry for yourself. Oftentimes, you still get punished regardless. So I grew up repulsive, setting boundaries and raising standard. Anyone who doesn't match up, I blacklist, even a family member, without hesitation. Not maliciously, though, but for my own tranquility. I forgive so easily, but I don't know how to let go. So I brood. That's why I attached it to my name, Brood. It's not easy to let go when one's genuine intent is dashed. But forgiveness, piece of cake. Do you have any final word? Actually, there's still a lot of questions that I have, but unfortunately, we're out of time. I was going to ask you the best time to seek for forgiveness when you come to terms. Maybe it was a fresh incident, or would you say the best time to seek for forgiveness is when you realize you have actually hurt this person, or you need to watch the person's mood, watch the setting, atmosphere, and other things?
Observation is very important. Observation is very important. And, most of all, it's also important to know, are you ready? Are you ready to ask for forgiveness? Because sometimes, even when you realize you've hurt the person, you may still be in the place of, well, yeah, but the person also hurt me. The person also did this, the person also did that. And if you go with that notion of going to ask for forgiveness, it's very, likely that, you're going to start saying, but you also did this, but you also did that. And that just only makes the wound deeper. So it's important for us to first understand that now that you hurt the person, are you in a place of judging? Are you a judging Georgina? Or, you just want to apologize. So when you observe the person, how they're relating to you, other people, how they're carrying on with life, and look, I really did much more damage to this person. That usually will help you to keep the judgment aside and take that step forward to ask for forgiveness. So observation and also not being judgy.
Thank you. And on a final note, what will be your thoughts for unforgiveness generally and for someone listening?
Unforgiveness is so powerful. It is so powerful. It has affected lives, it has affected marriages, it has affected relationships, and it affects the next generation as well. Because you see, the trauma goes on and on and on. It breeds so much negative emotions for that person who develops anxiety, depression, and also may get to the point where they're hurting those around them because they are unable to contain the pain that they've gone through. So just like love is powerful and forgiveness is powerful, unforgiveness is powerful and can be a monster that can destroy everything that you have worked for.
Thank you very much. I wish we had more time to discuss this. Unfortunately, we're out of it, so maybe another time. Thank you to you.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who has sent in a message. I see them. Thank you, Muste, for acknowledging this. He says it's a great topic and you're a godsend. Well, thank you so much for listening and choosing Smooth 98.1. Of course, we are not done on breakfast in bed this morning. In about 5 minutes, the children will join me on Curious Minds. And it's always one of the highlights of my mornings where they just get to have a great time. And after that, it will be Smooth Explorer. You're listening to Smooth 98.1. By the way, you can go back to our YouTube channel to find the recording. You're searching for youtube.com/Smooth 91 FM Lagos. And if people want to catch you on social media?
So what I would probably do is perhaps maybe on Wednesday or on Friday, I will just do an Insta live for questions and answers. So if they go to my Instagram, Olabisi Usidame, if you look out for me, just look out for a flyer today, tomorrow, just so I can answer some of these questions. I'm not going to start repeating all these things I've said. I'm just going to refer to people to watch this recording and just come to answer. I'll come and answer questions, personal questions, deep questions, and then they can send me DMs so I can actually read them out and answer them as well. So wishing everyone out there the best and hoping that, you will walk into a forgiving year. Yeah.
That was a very
Thank you.
soothing session. Thank you so much. All right, now I'll catch you on the other side with the children on Curious Minds.
And the rest will follow.
We are so over
What
time.
does health look like?
Let me quickly
Sorry
end the
about
stream.
Emotionally and work really hard
You know,
on
some of
being
this,
good at you.
Healthy mind,
some of these
healthy
topics are
body,
very
healthy
intense.
life. So
Yes.